Honestly, with the new introduction of Gunsmith, there are so many scopes now in Call of Duty Mobile. It's about time we finally come out with a scope ranking video. We're going to be doing 3 different categories: red dots, holoscopes, and tactical scopes, ranking the best scopes in each category so you guys know what to use. And we're getting started right now.
Yeah, it's that Super no Shima flow. Yeah, 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 yeah.
So if you guys don't already know, there are 7 different red dot scopes. We're going to be ranking them by starting with number 7 and then going all the way up to number 1. And here we are right now with number 7. This one is called the Red Dot Sight 6. It's one of the more boxy like ones out of the few. And part of the reason I didn't rank this one too high is because it kind of has a lot of bulk on the frame of the actual like sight itself. Of course it has a clear view. It's nice and clear, you can see through it, but it's just too bulky to me. And I mean, although red dots are my favorite like category of scope, I just don't really like this one too much just because of its like bulky frame. And it actually has like a double like layer, I guess you could say, like to the scope, and it just looks a little bit too bulky for me. Let's go ahead and move on to number 6. So number 6 here, this one is actually called the Red Dot Sight 1. So this one you will unlock pretty early on, and this one is actually also very clear like the last one. But the problem with this one is it's more of just a thing that bothers me, but it's very like horizontal, and I feel like it's just very like smashed. Like it doesn't really have much like vertical view space because there's just that like giant bar there. So it kind of bothers me, the fact that it's a little bit smashed, but it's not too bad. That's why I didn't put it in last place. I just think there's better, like more clear scopes. So let's go ahead and move on to number 5. Number 5 here, we have Sight 4. Now, this one's interesting. It is one of the smaller of the red dot scopes. The reason I do like this one is because it's kind of it is a perfect circle. Like, it is actually a perfect circle. And it's just very, like, clean and zoomed, I feel like. So, on a longer range AR, like, for example, I used this scope on my M16 sniper setup that I did recently, where I basically just made a really long range triple burst M16, and I used this scope on it. So, this would be really good for, like, long range ARs, but I couldn't rank it too high because it was just not like good for close range. Like, I mean, it is, but it's just not as good as a lot of the other red dot scopes on this list. But overall, it's still a pretty good scope. I just feel like it is a little bit small, and it obviously is not super clear. As you guys can see, there's kind of like this like black hue, I guess you could say, like around the edges, which kind of bothers me, but it's not that bad overall. So now let's move on to number 4. This is getting into the better of the red dot scopes, my more like, favorite ones of the list here. So we got the Red Dot Sight 3. That's what this one's called. So this one, part of the reason I like this one is because it's very close range. It's very clear. It's not super bulky. It's just what you want. It's not a perfect circle, but it's kind of like a it's like a circle with a little bit of it like cut off. So it's pretty close to a circle, and I really like circular or oval scopes. Just anything that's kind of a round shape is just, I don't know, it's better for me as far as visually, but I don't know, that's just me. I do like the scope though overall. It's clear, it's got a nice shape to it, and it's got a good like level of zoom without being like too small of a area to see people like the last scope. So this is our number 4. Let's go ahead and move on to number 3. All right, now at number 3 here, this one's definitely the funkiest out of all the red dot scopes. This one is called the Red Dot Sight number 5. Now, this one's interesting. As you guys can see, it is very, very big. Now, part of the reason I have this one so high on this list is, yes, it does have a little bit of bulk to it, but it actually has a lot of view room. Like, this thing is really, really good for, like, mid-range, even long range. It's just got so much view to it. And then, of course, if you're close range as well, it'll also work just because you can see so much. And, of course, there is a double, a double bezel or a double rim or whatever you want to call it, like the actual metal on the scope. But I mean, it's very big, and it's just, there's so much view room, and it's also pretty clear. There's a little bit of a black hue, kind of like that one scope, but it's not that bad. Like, it's definitely manageable, and I just think this one is one of the cleaner of the scopes as far as like how big of the view room is and just how nice it looks. You know what I mean? So let's go ahead and move on to number 2. So number 2 here, this one's probably familiar. This one is called, well, it's the classic red dot. You guys probably remember this. This has been here since pretty much the beginning of the game. The reason I have this one so high is because it's just so clear. It's incredibly clear. And of course, it's the OG. How could I not give the OG a high rank? And that's not biased. I actually think the OG red dot is actually pretty good. Like, I like it. It's clear. Yes, it kind of has a box shape to it, but it doesn't really have like a top part to the box, so I don't really, you know, it doesn't bother me at all, to be honest. And I mean, I'm also really used to this red dot. I'm sure many of you guys are as well. So I think you guys would probably agree that this is definitely one of the better ones. So I do really like the old red dot scope. I think it's great. So let's go ahead and move on. There's only one left. What could it be? You guys might know which one it is, because, I mean, it looks a little bit similar to some of the others on this list, but let's go ahead and hop into it. Here it is. It is sight number 2. So red dot sight number 2. This is my favorite red dot scope. I think it's just the most versatile, and it's also just very, like, just very clean, I feel like. So it's obviously got no black hue. It has a very minimal bezel. It's a little bit like oval shaped almost. It's like a mix between an oval and a box. So you got like a lot of room to see on the sides, and the top is also got a little bit of room extra because it's kind of like that oval shape, so you kind of got that little extra room. It's just not like a flat line of a box. But overall, I think this one's just the most versatile. Of course, there are other red dot scopes that are better for different categories, like more longer range ones that we have that we talked about. I believe our number 3 one's better for that stuff, but this one overall, I feel like it's just like the most versatile of all the scopes. Stick with me as we go through this quick top 4 for holoscopes. There's only 4 different ones, so let's run through this. Starting off with our number 4. This one's the classic holoscope. If you guys remember this one, it's been in the game forever. It sucks. This is the worst one. It's got a huge bezel, very small window of view. Just everything you don't want in a scope, this one pretty much has. So I don't like this one. I think we can all agree that this is the worst holo after you see the rest of the list just being overall way better than this one. But yeah, let's go ahead and move on. I don't need to explain why this one sucks. It's pretty clear. Okay, moving on to number 3 here. We have Holoscope 1. So this one here, let me go over this one. This one's interesting. I think it's actually very clear. I like the circular aspect of it, but I really have a problem with the ginormous bezel, especially near the top. It just has a huge bezel. Like, if you're, like, trying to shoot at a guy, like, to the upper left or right corner to you, it's going to be hard to see him because those ginormous bezels. So, honestly, this one's good and all. It's just those bezels that get me. And that's pretty much it. Other than that, this is a pretty decent holoscope, though. I do like how it is circular. I like circular scopes better than square ones. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to number 2. All right, coming in at number 2 here, getting into my favorites. So now we have Holoscope Sight 2, or Holoscope 2. This one here, very, like, vertical oriented, extremely clear, very minimal bezel. Pretty much a perfect holoscope if you ask me. The only complaint I really have about this one is the bezels could be slightly smaller, but honestly, they're really good. It's a holoscope. Usually the holoscope bezels are just slightly bigger than the red dot bezels. So, and I'm calling them bezels. I don't know what the name is. I'm talking about just like the metal, like that's on the outside holding the glass together. But you guys probably know what I'm getting at. But yeah, this one just overall very clear. I like it. It's pretty minimal, but it does the job. So now let's go ahead and move on to our number 1 pick for holoscopes, and this one is insane. I actually love this one. So we got, this one is called the Holoscope 3. Now take a look at this thing. Massive wide view for this thing. It's almost like you're looking at a flat screen TV. It does have larger bezels compared to some, especially on that right side. For whatever reason, that right bezel is just huge. But I just love how this thing gives you a really wide view. There's a little bit of black, like a black hue kind of towards the bottom corners, but I mean, it doesn't really give me that much of a problem. I just like how wide. Okay, can I finish these targets off? I like how wide this thing is. That's really all it is. Like, this is just really nice if you're like playing a more passive playstyle and you're maybe sitting like towards the back of the map. This thing's nice because you just get a nice wide field of view. So that's why I have this holoscope here as our number 1 pick. Welcome back to the training room. We are doing tactical scopes now. So coming in at number 7, there's 7 of these, by the way, so there's a lot. Anyways, number 7, this is the worst scope in the game. I don't even know why this is a thing. It needs a freaking buff. Oh my god. Okay, well, this is number 7. I don't even think I need to explain it. You guys will see. Massive bevel. Greg hates bevels. Also, there's a giant black hue thingy, whatever, near the edge of the glass, and it bothers me. Hate the scope. Way too thick. I mean, come on, man. Like, you really expect us to just... Yeah, I don't know. I hate this thing. Moving on to number 6. That, by the way, that name was the 3X TAC 1. Right, coming in at number 6 here, this one is a, this is the 4.4 zoom TAC scope, not the OTC one, but the other one. This one right here, the reason I didn't give it a good placement is partly because it's kind of bulky on the sides, especially near that, like, bottom left side. Plus, there's a giant knob on the, on the right side, and the top is a giant knob. So, like... I can't, like, even though this is a, super zoomed tactical scope, I can't be biased and just be like, since I don't use these type of scopes, I'm going to put it low on the list. But, trying to speak from a non-biased perspective, I just don't really like how bulky it is. Obviously, it's not my preference to be very zoomed in on a target, so I'm just not used to this stuff, but I had to be non-biased, and the reason I'm putting it kind of low on the list is because it's a little bulky, and yeah. So let's go ahead and move on. I think we're on number 5 now. So number 5, this is just a classic tactical scope. I think this one's all right. It's got a little bit bigger of a bevel towards like the top and just on the everywhere else. It's just a little bit big, but it's not too bad. So I didn't put it super low on the list. But yeah, this is the classic tactical scope that's been in the game since day one. It's really not good, but it's not bad either. It's just pretty average, I'd say. I like it though as a whole. I just feel like there's better ones on this list. All right, let's go ahead and move on. Number 4 here. We got the OWC 4.4X. This is another one of those zoomed in ones, except I feel like this one's a little bit more clear, so I gave it a higher spot on the list. I just overall like this one more than the other 4.4X, the one that's like super zoomed in. And since this is actually a zoomed in target, or a zoomed in scope, we should be going in for further targets to better demonstrate it. Of course, this is not like... this is technically the M4 LMG, but I'm using the SMG build on it, so it doesn't have like... LMG-like range. Oh, it kind of does, actually. But yeah, this scope's alright. I definitely like it better than the other super zoomed-in scope. Alright, moving in to the number 3 spot. Number 3, this one right here. This one, what's the name? 3X TAC number 2. Very minimal bevel, very clear, just overall good everything, honestly. There's really nothing bad about this one other than, like, could have, like, slightly smaller bevels, maybe just a little bit more clear, but it's pretty good in every aspect. There's really nothing bad about this TAC scope, so I think this is definitely one of the better ones. Let's go ahead, move on to number 2. Alright, for number 2, we got the 3X TAC 3. So here we go. Number 1 and number 2, I had a hard decision choosing which one was better, but I think this one's number 2. Overall, very good. Minimal bezels, just like the last one, and I just like it. It's very clear. There's really nothing else to say. And yeah, that's it. All right, let's go ahead and move on to number 1. This one right here, this one has minimal bezel, as you guys can see. It does have a little bit of the black hue, or whatever you want to call that, like on the edges of the glass, but it's not that bad. And overall, I just think this one's very clean. Like, it's got these very small bezels. The classic, like, dot or whatever you want to call it, it's very clean. It's kind of like a little circular pattern. And I just think this one's perfect. This is my favorite tactical scope. If I were to use a tactical scope, which you guys know I never use tactical scopes, I mainly am a red dot guy, I would use this one, though, if I were to pick a tac scope and use it. Yeah, this is my number 1 pick for the tac scopes. Alright guys, that is it for the video. I hope everyone enjoyed. Let me know down in the comments, what's your favorite red dot scope, holoscope, or tactical, or just tell me all of them if you want. It's fine with me. Anyways, leave a like if you did enjoy, guys. And of course, make sure you subscribe. We're really close to 200,000, so I'd appreciate if everyone subscribes that hasn't already. Okay, that's it, guys. I'll see you tomorrow. Peace out.